So, what if I told you that you could take down the entire unfair system of the world just with the sound of your voice? I know, it sounds wild, right? But that is the absolute core idea behind this really fascinating spiritual philosophy we're going to break down today. It comes from a text called the Spiritual Trumpet, and let me tell you, it's got a pretty radical take on everything from loneliness and society to, well, the very fabric of reality itself. And this quote right here, this is basically its mission statement. Right off the bat, it's not being pitched as some abstract theory. No, it's a form of spiritual medicine. And what's the sickness it's trying to cure? It's that really deep, gnawing loneliness that the text says comes from living in an illusion-existing world. I mean, you gotta admit, that's a pretty bold and poetic way to kick things off. All right, so first things first, medicine for the soul. See, before this philosophy tries to take on the whole world, it zooms way in. It starts with a problem that I think we can all relate to on some level. That feeling of being totally alone or just completely out of step with everybody else around you. Now, the way this philosophy talks about loneliness is super specific. It's not just, being physically by yourself. No, it's talking about a much deeper kind of alienation. It's that feeling you get when your core being, everything from your desires to your thoughts to your emotions, just doesn't line up with the rest of the community anymore. You're just fundamentally out of sync. Okay, so if that's the problem, what's the solution? Well, the cure it proposes is a very specific action, reciting the name and the essence of a supreme being called Arabi Lamin. The text says that this act, the actual vocalization, is the true curable medicine for that lonely soul. It's all about the sound. All right, now let's zoom back out, because this is where the idea gets a lot bigger. The text argues that this feeling of personal loneliness, it's actually just a symptom of a much, much larger systemic problem, something it calls the old matrix. So the old matrix, you can think of it as the big bad guy in this whole philosophy. It's described as the entire false, unfair system that's running the world. And just listen to the words used here. It's an illusion, it's unharmonious, and it's built on a foundation of ignorance and worshiping the wrong things. So where did this thing even come from? Well, according to the text, it wasn't dropped on us by some alien force. Nope, we built it. It's the product of the collective thought of selfish individuals, nations, and governance. It's like a prison of consciousness that we built for ourselves. And this chart, wow, this really lays out the central conflict perfectly. On one side, you've got the old matrix, right? Born from selfishness and ignorance. But on the other side, that's the goal, the new earth. And that's born from divine consciousness, from a realization of wholeness. And the key takeaway here, the path from one to the other isn't about small changes or reforms. It's demolition, total demolition. Okay, so if the problem is an entire global system of thought, how in the world could you possibly destroy it? That's the big question, right? Well, the text proposes a solution that's just as radical as the problem, a very specific kind of sound. And this quote, this is the whole foundation for how this works. The idea is that reality itself is vibrational, that everything, and I mean everything, in the universe exists as a sound wave. And once you accept that, well, that's the key to understanding how a single voice could have such unbelievable power. So here's the playbook broken down into steps. Step 1, you have to generate a true emotion, specifically a real desire for justice. Step 2, that emotion is the fuel for reciting the sacred name. Step 3, that creates and broadcasts a powerful sound wave. And then, step 4, that sound wave hits the old matrix, and according to this text, the whole thing just self-destructs. But why does this work? What's the secret sauce? Well, the philosophy claims the old matrix has, like a fatal flaw, an Achilles heel. It's fundamentally incompatible with the vibration of this one specific sound, a voice that comes from a pure, true desire for justice. It literally has no defense against it. It just can't handle the frequency. Okay, but this whole process, it's not just going to happen randomly. The text suggests this massive, world-changing shift is going to be kicked off by a very specific catalyst, a prophesied individual. And this first individual, talk about having a lot on your plate. This person isn't just a leader, they're the spark. They're meant to provoke this big realization of wholeness and immortality in all of us. They're the cornerstone for the new earth, and they're supposed to lead the charge in tearing down the old systems, working together with other chosen ones. And this is where the text gets surprisingly specific. It actually offers a guess about where this key person might come from, saying, And I quote, "I guess this individual may be from Ethiopia." And then, right after that guess, the author drops this personal declaration, "I am from Ethiopia." Wow. I mean, that creates such a fascinating, dramatic link between the prophecy and the person who's actually writing this text. Now, let's be super clear here. The author doesn't come right out and say, "Hey, I'm the guy, the first individual." Instead, they identify as one of the chosen ones, part of a team that's actively involved in this spiritual warfare. It basically places them right inside the story that they're telling. So, what happens after the smoke clears? After the Matrix is gone and the old world is demolished, what's next? Well, this final section is all about the ultimate outcome, the whole point of this entire spiritual battle. The end game is something called the New Earth, and this is defined as establishing the kingdom of heaven on New Earth. The foundation of this new world isn't selfish thought like the old one. It's built on a shared collective divine consciousness. And this is such a critical point to understand. The text makes it really clear this isn't about fixing or reforming the old world. It is about a total replacement. Every single piece of the old system, we're talking its structures, its norms, its habits, even the meaning it gives to things, all of it has to be completely demolished to make room for the new. So, we want to leave you with this final thought to chew on. This philosophy proposes a reality where the greatest power for change isn't physical at all, it's vibrational. It's a sound wave born from pure emotion. And that really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What is the true power of our collective voice if we could all unite it behind one single genuine desire?